the track as dinosaurs. These are really I mean, first time I heard of them.
All right, so hello, my friends. And welcome to the Superheroes in Disney Parks and Experiences panel here at New York Comic Con. My name is Rachel Page, and I'm one of the editors over at Marvel.com, and I'm super excited to be here with all of you guys today. But before we get started, I do have a question for all of you. Who has recently been to a Disney park or taken a Disney cruise?
Yeah!
Did you guys see some Avengers stuff there?
Yeah!
Yes, perfect. Are you ready to learn more about all of that?
Yes!
For the next hour, we're going to be talking to Disney Imagineers from around the world about all of the amazing new Avengers things coming to life in the parks and on the cruise ships. So now, without further ado, it's time to kick off the main event and meet our panelists. So first up, we have Michael Cerna, Executive Creative Director of Disney Then we have Sachi Handke. Wyatt Winter. Beth Clapperton, Creative Director of Avengers Campus. Dave Shore, Marvel Studios Vice President, Franchise Creative Marketing. Portfolio Creative Executive. Alright, so welcome everyone. Now, kicking things off, these superhero stories hold so much storytelling potential for Walt Disney Imagineering. When it comes time to dream up something new, where do you start? Like, what are your brainstorming sessions with the studio like?
Well, I gotta say, I'm really excited to be here talking about this. The brainstorm sessions that you're referring to really started about 6 years ago. We had a couple of attractions in development, but all of us kind of got together. We brought together a group not dissimilar to this table here, writers, artists, storytellers, because these characters, these stories, they're full of heart and humor, and all of us just rallied around how do we bring those into our parks? How do we tell experiences where it puts the guests right in the middle of the action? And I will say, they were very dynamic conversations. You can imagine sitting in front of that blank sheet of paper, what should we do with this universe that's so vast?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few Avengers fans here, I'm assuming. That's how we feel. Exactly what Scott said is literally, from the studio point of view, was when we got the opportunity to work with the Imagineers, which Scott said was about 6 years ago. I mean, the conversations have been going on for years and years before that, when the opportunity really came about, from Kevin on down. Every time we have a conversation with the Imagineers around any character, any experience, anything, it's always rooted in the characters first, the storytelling, what are we doing in the MCU, what was the opportunity in the park, and we come at it in the exact same way you guys would come at it, which is, what if we did this, what if we did that, what if we blew it up, what if we made it yellow? And we get to do that with the best placemakers on the planet. So for us, it's actually a dream, I'm sure.
Yeah, and these all turned into tangible things, and that's why we're excited today to be talking about how these really turned into real places around the world where all of our guests now, around the clock, 24 hours a day, there are experiences with these characters. So I'm really excited to dig in.
But as you're bringing all these stories to life, what is the primary goal with these attractions and experiences around the globe?
We're not retelling any stories, right? We are expanding the universe, and for our part, the departure point for any experience is the place you walk into. So that has been and is our first challenge with all of these projects, is where is the place that I'm going to? And creating an Avengers Campus that brings all these characters together to champion us, the next generation of heroes, to step up, become something more. Or as you'll learn in Epcot, how we authentically tell a story from Epcot and Xandar, putting those two things together. So much of our conversations, and we joke, there's some amazing environments in Marvel Studios films, but thank you, you blow them up at the end of every film. So you have to start over in the parks.
And just to add to that is I think me being a fan as well, but being lucky enough to work at the studio is we do get to blow stuff up, which is fun. But it's more fun to be able to work with this team and these amazing people and creators and innovators and storytellers to actually make those places real in the real world. Avengers headquarters is real. You can go to it. It's amazing. To bring Xandar to Epcot in an authentic way that fits within the story of Epcot, as Walt brought it up, that Xandar is bringing their culture to Earth to teach them about, where we come from and how we fit in, and White obviously feeling some of those things. But just the idea of a Quinjet, the real physical Quinjet that was actually, if you do your digging, it's in one of the films. You gotta really dig hard now. That for us is the really exciting thing, is that it is now what the fans see, what we're so passionate about in the studio is just that authentic storytelling being brought to life.
And speaking of bringing these things to life, there is nothing cooler than actually getting to meet some of these characters, both heroes and villains, in the park. Because how many of us watched Loki and then went the next day and actually met Loki in the park? Now, Michael, what has it been like producing these interactions for you and your team?
Well, that's been the incredible thing. When we opened the campus in California, was our dedication was we wanted to make sure we could meet our favorite heroes, see them do awesome things, and then train alongside them. Those were always our driving focus. And we wanted them to be relevant and up to date as well. And I'm a fan, also a huge nerd for years. And to me, I always wanted to make sure that there was something there for everybody that loved our shows or our films. And so in the past, this has really been about a year and a half now, we've had over 30 new heroes appear in our campuses in California and in Paris. I mean, 1/10 of them are Loki variants, but still, a lot of heroes. And I mean, as a fan, like I said, I never imagined I would get to see Moon Knight in our park, let alone Mr. Knight in our park, and being able to be relevant, up to date with what's happening, and obviously someone like Scarlet Witch, who we knew was in previous Avengers films, and then talking really closely and working closely with the studio, we knew she was going to be a big piece of what was going to happen in Multiverse of Madness. So us being able to plan ahead to think about how these characters will affect what we do in the campus and how they can affect our guests coming into campus, that's been the most exciting piece about bringing this together for the first time and doing something that we've never done in any park ever to be this relevant. To be able to day and date launch a hero you just saw on a show or a film, to be able to meet them in person or see them do something really cool is really a game changer. And only this brand and only these stories can help us bring to life. And the other piece of this that's so important to me is that the studio's done an amazing job of bringing new characters to life that represent the wider swath of our audience. So we're bringing characters in that you can see, that you see yourself in for the first time, and we're relevant to the sense of the diversity, including people that haven't seen themselves represented as heroes in the past. So, I mean, being able to see guests in the park get emotionally connected to seeing America Chavez show up for the first time was one of the most moving things I've ever seen, right? Because there's people that now have seen somebody that they are so connected to from the comics and stories from before and feel like they have a kinship to, and they feel they see themselves like Shang-Chi and the Eternals, and be able to see those characters real life in front of them is just really the unique, exciting thing about what we do here every day. And with that in mind, we have more cool stuff coming. In fact, I can make a huge announcement for you for the first time here. So we have a little movie coming out, I don't know if you've heard, it's like Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. It's a little movie. So we have big ideas in mind, but the one thing I can announce today is that for the first time in our parks in California, you will see M'Baku on November 11th. So you get to meet him and see him in the park the day Wakanda Forever opens.
That is awesome.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
Cool.
Now let's watch a little cute video.
I just want to give a shout out to Mike and the team for everything they do, because just bringing Baku to the parks is a huge undertaking, and knowing how hard it is, and the amount of work and the amount of Imagineering and amazingness. And you get moments like that because of all the hard work the Imagineers do, and it's unbelievable to see. I thought it was one of the most powerful things. I've ever seen videos of this, but you see it all the time in the parks, and that's a huge shout out to this whole team and everyone at Imagineering for bringing these to life. From a Marvel perspective, it's really
That moment's happening every day.
It's a normal too.
that moment's happening every day with Zombie Cat too.
It is, actually.
Different kid.
Different. It's the Walking Dead thing.
And these are all extraordinary characters. What has it been like getting to introduce some of these innovative new ways of bringing them to life in the parks?
Yeah, when we first started this whole process, there was so many characters. Scott said yesterday, there's thousands of Marvel characters, so we're barely just getting started here. But what's really unique about what Imagineering can do to help bring these heroes to life is sort of that difference maker of seeing these characters do things that we couldn't imagine ever seeing. So obviously one of my favorites, and I think one of your favorites, is Spider-Man. If you know, this Spider-Man is, our unique Spider-Man is created entirely for our parks by Ryan Meyerndine, who works very closely with the studios and creates all these amazing character looks. This is our specific Spider-Man that we created for the first time we ever created a character entirely for our parks. But that wasn't where we wanted to end with Spider-Man. We knew Spider-Man is the most important character to so many people, and one of really the most popular character in the world, really. You go anywhere, everybody knows who Spider-Man is. But our challenge was, how do you bring Spider-Man to life? I mean, you saw, meeting him up close is one thing, but getting Spider-Man to do what we want to see Spider-Man do. And honestly, for my whole life, I've watched Spider-Man from back in the Amazing Friends era through numerous movies. And the one thing I never thought I could envision was being able to really see Spider-Man fly in the air and do those cool things. And thank goodness our Imagineering research and development team took that challenge on and said, well, we think we can pull that off. And I said, well, I don't know if we can pull that off, but let's try it. Let's throw a stick around and see if that works. So we're going to show a little video here that shows sort of the process of how we brought Spider-Man to life for you. It really wasn't a stick. It wasn't fun. Pun totally intended. It really is one of the most amazing things I have ever seen. The first time I ever saw him fly, I did say something that was very non-Disney appropriate. And then I turned to the team and said, can I see it like 10 more times? That was very cool.
It really was like witnessing history of it was kind of scary. Like you're like, maybe we'll try to do this next time. And you're like, that's never gonna work. And then they would come through and you're like, that is amazing.
It's astounding. And as soon as the team continues and the studio continues to make really incredible things on the screen and on TVs, we're going to keep pushing ourselves to make amazing things for us in parks. You might have seen a recent pretty large arrival in Avengers Campus, where the whole arrived. Again, entirely because of our Imagineering team being able to bring things together and make characters like this arrive. So keep your eyes open. We're going to keep working on this. We're going to keep challenging ourselves and challenging our guests to demand more of us and us to see the things we've never dreamed we could see in person for the first time.
And now, speaking of some of these iconic characters, the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida, over at Epcot, is starting to Tara, that is of course Earth. Cosmic Rewind to life and placing it in a park currently undergoing a massive transformation.
Yeah, so it sounds like maybe some of the people in this audience have been able to experience it based on the reaction. I think this was, as Scott said, we've been working on this one for several years on this project from beginning to end, and the kind of taking this real world that Epcot represents and the fact that these stories take place in our world too is something that was really important to us, to try and mesh these two together, make it feel like it was at home at Epcot, and that story would be true to Guardians. And so it was fun to bring that Xandarian science and mash it up with the science that we all know and start to tell that story, and really tell the story that we are all more alike than we are different, and kind of really connect us together. And this attraction, as you said, is bigger than life. It is massive. And I don't think you quite can appreciate the size of it until you see it in person. And the Galaxarium that you see up on the screen here, all of the gallery and experiences before you even get on the coaster portion is an attraction on its own. And so I think that was a fun thing for all of us to kind of develop and work together on. And so really all of that, getting you to build that excitement, to then join the Guardians on that adventure on a whole new ride system. And so I was lucky enough to work with our ride teams to develop a brand new system that we were able to patent called our Omni Coaster. And so we can now turn and kind of rotate you into the action. So besides finding a whole new story, whole new ride system, and we kind of, as we started getting to do it, we wanted like, is this gonna work? Is this gonna be fun? Because it's something no one's done before. And once we started riding it, we couldn't describe it. It's like you can't describe it, you can't tell what it is until you're
It's like being in a movie theater going 60 miles an hour. That's what it's like.
I mean, to that point, when you're on it, those the media, the environments around you, these are larger than IMAX screens, longer than a football field of content that you're looking past as you are flying with the Guardians to go capture the cosmic generator and do this whole adventure. And so that was a fun part of this, is like nothing else that's been done before, just the scale of it. But that ride system, until you're on it, and as, again, some of you have done it, it is something totally unique and different. And one of the jokes that we said is we wanted to feel like you were not connected to a coaster. And if you tell that to a ride developer and engineer, that freaks them out. We said, no, you're staying on the ride. You're safe, but you want to feel like you're floating and flying through space.
And with everything you're saying, everything is just so big about Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. What else did your team help develop for it?
So probably one of the biggest characters out there, Isan the Searcher. So he made an appearance in the first Guardians film. He looked a little bit different in that one, but then we got to work with Dave and his team to kind of bring him to life in a new way and continue that story a bit. So this was a fun, really collaboration with the studios and with our WDI team to have a unique villain here that hadn't been seen anywhere else.
And I'll add to that going back to the brainstorms, this is one of the most dynamic conversations about who was the villain for this attraction. And every part of this is, trying to, for everyone that's experienced it, you know, but even just talking about this for 5 minutes, there's no way to talk about all the development, whether it's just the ride, or whether it was the story, whether it's how we worked with James Gunn, but the villain, and how many different villains we explored, and then when we settled on, how about a villain that's larger than a planet? It's like, how are we gonna fit that in the box? And that was crazy.
The villain is larger than a planet, but when you're standing next to Terry Crews, one of the characters, that was fun, working with Terry and getting close and bringing that's probably my favorite thing about the attractions, getting to work with Terry and his story that he told us on set, and the bringing new characters to the parks, totally based off of what we get to do in the films and all of that. That's the fun crossover.
It was fun because Terry, he loves the parks, he loves Disney parks, and so he was telling us stories about going to the parks as a guest, and so that was fun for us to kind of be part of.
He's like a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was telling us more about pirates in Shanghai than I think we knew at times. But I think that, just the star power across this attraction, getting all the Guardians back, Glenn Close. I mean, what attraction has Glenn Close in it to be part of it? So was really fun to be bringing them to life and see their excitement, and know that they're gonna live on forever as part of this experience.
And now, of course, we can't talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind without talking about the music. Is there anything else you could share?
Yep. So that was a big fun part of this whole experience, was figuring out what songs you're going to hear on the ride. We knew we wanted to have a unique soundtrack that was different from the films, but another unique soundtrack that we will be debuting this holiday season is a new holiday remix that will play at Crazy Foxy Cosmic Rewind. So this is a all-new, unique kind of mashup song, taking a lot of your favorite holiday songs that we all know and love, creating a new song when mixed with it. We even, our Imagineers, were able to do some custom lyrics for it. And so you're gonna hear some fun stuff with it, and this song will be the song that you hear during the holiday season at Epcot this year. So it'll be fun. It's a lot of fun, and so I think we got to test it and play with it during our integration earlier this year. And it's a nice little
It's really Christmas for us. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So yeah, you'll have to come back down and hear this winter.
And now so many of these experiences and attractions happen over a very short amount of time. When it comes to Disney Cruise Line guests, you have several days to connect and interact with passengers. Sachi, how does your team design for that kind of experience and interaction with guests on the cruise?
Yeah, well, I mean, if anyone's ever cruised on Disney Cruise Line before, I know you have, Rachel, but has anyone else cruised? So you know that you have a little bit longer of a time in these immersive spaces. And you also know that when it comes to immersive storytelling and placemaking on Disney Cruise Line ships, traditionally that's really been sort of like just encapsulated in Disney's Oceaneer Club, which is the kids club. And we've never had the opportunity before the Disney Wish to really do a deep dive into placemaking in spaces for adults. So we were listening to all of these comments and feedback from the parents of these kids saying, hey, you know, I get to go into Disney's Oceaneer Club and train in Marvel Superhero Academy during open house hours, but where's my Marvel space? Where do I get to play when my kids are in there and it's on lockdown? So we created the Worlds of Marvel restaurant, and in there we knew we wanted to deliver a Marvel cinematic dining experience. And so we had three main guiding principles when it came to delivering the story within this space. First, we knew that it had to be rooted in truth, both from a Disney Cruise Line perspective and an MCU perspective, right? So we knew that we needed to have enough references to Disney Cruise Line for the people who love to cruise, but we also needed to have these Easter eggs for people who love Marvel. And a couple of those references went viral in social media.
Was the Ant-Man one you were referring to?
Yeah, Paul Rudd brought the adult version.
So we knew we wanted to have characters in this story that were relevant to the future of the MCU, right? So we knew we needed to have Sam Wilson, Captain America. We knew we needed to have Ant-Man and Wasp. We knew we needed to have Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel delivering this story. So that was the first guiding principle. The second guiding design principle was that we knew that this had to take place on the ship, right? In very recognizable spaces. So we wanted the kids, when they sat down at dinner, and the grown-ups, when they sat down at dinner, to go, hey, that's the lab we were in earlier today. That's the Marvel Superhero Academy. Oh my gosh, Ant-Man and Wasp are coming to us from this space that we were on the ship. And when it comes to the finale piece, we wanted everyone to instantly recognize the upper decks and realize that leading into the third guiding principle, that this is happening in real time. Like, 7 decks above us, this climactic moment is happening. Ultron and Sentry show up, and thank goodness for the multiverse for having Ultron come and be our villain. Just this is happening immediately right now. It's so great to have this level of immersion in the Worlds of Marvel restaurant for Avengers Quantum Encounter, and just have these red alert situations happening so you feel this heightened situation. We always said that if the kids jumped up and tried to run out of the restaurant and go up to the upper decks and help save the day, this was going to be a true win for us. And it has happened. Kids are super pumped after the show, and they just want to go straight back to Marvel Superhero Academy and keep training so that they can kind of fulfill their superhero destiny. And the great thing too with our creative team is they really peppered this extra layer of detail into the Marvel Superhero Academy, so that when you're in there, you see these little details like this note from Scott Lang that you may not have seen before. And he's scribbled something on there, and he calls that back within the Avengers Quantum Encounter show. So there's a lot of sort of cross back and forth between these two distinct but very connected spaces. And so, we really have to thank, our working relationship with Scott and Dave for these kinds of details, because, they fly at 10,000 feet, and of course we're siloed off in our project, and they're like, hey, maybe make mention of this thing, and it'll make sense later. And it totally does. It pays off in a big way.
But while you're on the cruise, another element is Marvel Day at sea, of course. Michael, can you tell us about how it's continued to evolve over time?
Yeah, if you haven't been on the cruise ship on Marvel Day at Sea, talk about everything you want as a fan happening in one single day. You have an amazing cruise where you get to go to the Caribbean for a few days, but on Marvel Day at Sea, it really is literally a Marvel day where you wake up and that whole day is full of superhero incredibleness. And we've now allowed ourselves to really bring that expectation we all have of seeing cool hero action, meeting all these heroes, and I can make another big announcement that we are going to bring that back next year, but we're going bigger. We're going to be on the Disney Dream, which is a much bigger ship, so imagine it's going to be a much bigger thing, a ton more heroes. We're going to ramp up our engagements that you've seen, our upper deck show is it's going to bring on some new heroes and some new activations, so it's going to be pretty exciting to see. I have to say, I think I was one of at least 100 of the comments that were, when do I get to do something cool? So I'm glad that's happening as well. But yeah, it's a must-do, I think, for somebody who's a fan to be able to spend that time relaxing, but then having a really amazing superhero day.
Now, considering the Avengers are part of a much bigger world, is it true that some of these experiences and attractions are actually connected to each other?
So that's it's such a simple thing to talk about, especially in this room at Comic-Con, saying that these stories are interconnected. Of course they are. But this really is a first for Disney parks. And that's what was great is when we were brainstorming, like I said, we had the Iron Man experience in Hong Kong under development, Mission Breakout, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout in development. But we were all just talking, there's got to be something more. There's got to be, and that's why we formed this global portfolio of projects, because we wanted to tell a story that was bigger than any one attraction, any one land, and tell this global interconnected story. And I would tell you, it was not an easy thing to do, because there was a lot of why does someone care if they're in Hong Kong about what's going on in Paris? But what we found is these all added up to you becoming a part of this bigger universe, and these interconnected, just like Sachi was saying, those threads that weave it all together are really fun, and they become something that is such a momentum for the team to rally behind, and all of us, every location that's represented up here, and all the teams that make these projects happen would feed off of that energy of what another project was doing, and the total sum was something much more than any one attraction. Do you want to add to that, Dave?
We like interconnected stories at Marvel.
I mean, it is obvious to what Scott said that hey, let's make them interconnected, and that's always the goal, and the fun of it, from the studio perspective, is who's going to show up and why, or when, or what does that mean for the future, and so on and so forth. And obviously, it's a little bit different when the story is literally set in concrete, to make constant changes. But I think the fun of it is the ability we found within doing a lot of these big media shows within parks is the ability that you can update media, you can change things out, you can have alternate takes. We have I think for Sachi, we have an alternate take. I don't know, it's fun, I hope not. No.
You should talk about it.
Wait, hold on. Can I talk about it? I'm actually literally thinking live right now. Yeah, we can say it. Well, it's the alternate take that we got. So when we were shooting with Mon, Miss Marvel, obviously they haven't met yet. There's a movie coming out where there's some pretty cool, powerful women that are doing some pretty cool, powerful stuff. And we knew that was coming, and so we thought, okay, well, if she hasn't met Carol yet, what would it be like to have an alternate take? Maybe you'll get to see that if you go on cruises at some point, where the one that is playing now, she hasn't met her, and so it's really fun because Carol's there, she's with Sam, she flies off, and Miss Marvel walks in. Was that Carol? Did she do photonic blast? Did she go? And Sam's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's great because now we have alternate takes that will come out as the stories get updated and as the films come out. And I think the idea of that global portfolio and how we do that is the idea that, like what I was super excited about, which blew my mind, is that when we did Ant-Man and Wasp Nano Battle in Hong Kong, and I asked the question of, wait, it's connected to the Iron Man experience. And you're like, yeah. And I go, is that the first time that's ever happened in the history of parks? And they're like, I think so. So that was a fun conversation to start. And then just as the global portfolio has begun to expand with Avengers Campus in California, with Avengers Campus in Paris, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit, is how that story that we did on the cruise line and how we did the media for all of the other attractions starts to come together. I think we have a little clip.
For Avengers Assemble Flight Force in Paris.
Yeah. So this is media from that attraction, and I know Beckham and Scotty will do this in a little bit here, but the idea of this roll call idea where Iron Man is looking for heroes, and that is from the cruise line show, right? So that's the battle that's going on the cruise line. There's Miss Marvel doing her thing, right? And so he's looking for heroes. So he's scrolling through all the adventures that are going on. Where's Hope? Where's Scott? Oh, they're in Hong Kong. They can't deal with it. Where's Carol? And at the end of that cruise line show, when Carol flies off, right after not meeting Miss Marvel, she says, I gotta go deal with some Kree missiles, which is this attraction. So if you were to do them all, the stories actually connect in a really cool way. We just hope that as Avengers Campus hopefully expands in the future globally and we get to do more attractions, those stories become more and more and more and more and more connected to the films and to what's on Disney Plus and the other theme parks. And so it's really exciting.
Yeah, and this is what you just saw is the mission briefing for Avengers Assemble Flight Force. But that story of Tony looking for other Avengers, everyone's tied up. Everyone's in different attractions with their storylines, and that was really fun to play with. And because that's when all of a sudden, the focus turns to our guests, and we need to step up. So.
And now we've got a new addition to the Global Avengers Initiative with the recent opening of Avengers Campus at Walt Disney Studios Park at Disneyland Paris. How excited are you to finally see it open to guests? What are some of the prominent elements of the land you're excited to have brought to life with your team?
I'm so excited. Like these guys said, it's kind of easy to blow stuff up, but it takes a lot longer to build. It takes years and years, right? And some of it's not always glorious. You're in the mud, and there's loud noises, and things go wrong. And it takes about 4 years for us to, come up with something like this. Hundreds of thousands of hours of collaboration with all of the artisans who are building it, the studios in terms of developing what's going to happen there. But what joy when we get to the end of that trip, and there's this campus, where we can invite you in, and it's a real place because we're going to, train you and recruit you as the next generation of heroes. So super gratifying to have made that trip. And as these guys have said, the campus is a place, where we're going to discover the next generation of heroes. It's a global initiative that Tony Stark had set up. There's one in California already. This one in Paris has got a similar idea, but it's got some unique qualities that we were able to have fun with when we were developing it. And up on the screen here, what you're looking at is the Avengers headquarters in the Paris campus. And we were able to have fun with developing Friday, who I'm sure most of you know. We took her out of the suit, and we put her at the heart of the campus, and she connects us to, you know, the other global campuses and the other universes, and she monitors what's coming and going. So that was a really interesting development for us, a giant technical, sophisticated system as well. So we were out here in the month of January, which is very cold in France in January. So programming this. You remember?
Oh, I remember. You know, the interesting thing as you're telling me about the thousands of hours and decisions and all these things and being in the mud, you know, we're living in that fantasy world in our minds and concept art and story development, and then we're living on campus in construction, but it's not finished. So not everyone's seeing everything all come together, and so day after day, we see these small details add up to something that is incredible at the end.
Yeah.
But as soon as it's all together, we get kicked out. We gotta go wait in line with everyone else. It seems like we're living at the same campus, but yeah, no, we're excited to finally bring everyone when these projects are ready. But it's
But we get
such
to
a
build
drag.
that, and we get to have some moments that we get to share as, you know, like insiders, because, you know, when we brought that Quinjet in, like that Quinjet, we flew it in. Again, it was January, it was cold again, you know, we went up there, and we landed it on the Quinjet. And that was a moment where we went from being in the mud and the construction site, and then it started to become this campus. And so we could see where we were headed. So very exciting to be part of that long journey. So one of the other things that we were to develop, as Scott mentioned earlier, was the Avengers Assemble Flight Force, which takes place in the Avengers headquarters here. And this is a high-speed thrilling coaster where Iron Man and Captain Marvel get to team up. Now that was fun for us because, again, have we seen them play together? Not really. So we know they're both strong characters and they both have quite inflated egos. So we were able to have quite a lot of fun in the way that they would interact and, you know, the way they would play together. And I think we have a clip that takes you through this experience. So our next, we do have another attraction, as we talked about earlier, Spider-Man. You know, he's so popular, we have to make sure that we give him plenty of space. And we have the Spider-Man web attraction, which, you know, is an opportunity for us to swim webs like Spider-Man. We use this invisible, innovative technology, but really what it is, you know, enables us to do is have fun and make some points and a good family attraction, quite exciting, quite exhausting actually. It's quite long, we go around swinging webs all the time. So I think we also have a video of what that experience is.
Before that, but just real quick, the other backstory, I know we've talked about this a lot, and I see some people wearing web tech shirts and stuff like that. But creating a story and an attraction around Spider-Man is not just about celebrating Spider-Man, but it's putting him authentically in our world. He's a teenager. Why would he have his own building? Why would he have his own? So we created this organization for the parts, WEB, the Worldwide Engineering Brigade, and that became this really fun play space for us to, you know, so many of the designs look like we were walking through the halls of R&D, but it's all these brilliant, you know, web tech kids that are inventing the technology for the next generation of heroes. So I'm sure some of you may have already been slinging webs in Avengers Campus, but we'll play this video to remind you.
What you didn't see from what Beth was talking about with the Flight Force was just in short clips, because we're obviously, we can sit here all day, is Brie Larson right at the heart of that story alongside Iron Man, and Brie's excitement to be a part of it, and then with Webb is Tom Holland's involvement in that it is Tom Holland, it is Peter Parker that you see in the films, it is Captain Marvel, and
He does speak French.
he does speak French.
He does.
Actually.
That's
so
yes,
cool.
He does.
But what's great for us is something like Flight Force, something like Web. Those conversations go both ways, and we're having conversations from the studio side about, is that a thing? Could that be a thing, right? Flight Forces, that's a cool name. We could do something like that. Web is cool. So there are some fun conversations going with some of that, and I would say stay tuned to some of the upcoming shows and films, because you may see some of these things make little cameo appearances. That's what I think what's so great about this collaborative group of people and everybody that brings these things to life on the world is there is this massive conversation for Marvel fans that if you go, it's going to be authentic. Like,
Yeah, and just to wrap up the campus in Paris, I mean, you know, what a great job, right? Imagineering, we really do get to build these places and to bring you into them. They're real places. It's a real campus. We're going to train you. The superheroes are real. So, you know, this is really challenging for us. We have to maintain that authenticity throughout every detail. But what's really interesting also is how we build in all of the, you know, the core philosophies of the Avengers into these experiences, so that we provide you with the opportunity to become part of something bigger, if you want to actually, you know, tap into your inner hero if that's what you want to do. You know, work together. We're working together. We're stronger together. So we want you to leave the campus, not only have interacted with all of the favorite heroes, but really with this optimistic note about we're something bigger and better together.
I know, speaking of being bigger and better and becoming your own hero, we got some pretty exciting news at D23 Expo a few weeks ago about the future of Avengers Campus at the California Adventure Campus.
We are just as excited. We're up here talking about a lot of things that have opened around the world. This is the canvas. This is now the sandbox that we get to play in, and we are busy. And in California specifically, we're very excited that we're expanding the campus in a big way. And the multiverse is coming to campus, and that gives us
What? What was that?
It gives us so much opportunity to tell stories in the multiverse, and we've been playing in that sandbox and the sharing of realities, but we can really go overtly into that now and have multiple versions of characters and variants of characters, and that's what's so exciting.
yeah, I mean, you already see it. It's great. I mean, the idea of it was for us at the studio in the multiverse and what it provides is opportunity, right? And that's really the house of ideas, Marvel and everything is that really great opportunity that's always there. And like even things that Michael and team have done with Zombie Cap, I was making a joke earlier, but I will mention them, but the idea that Zombie Cap can step out of a what if show into the land, the idea that Hulk can time travel and can authentically be there in between his missions in Avengers Endgame, right? And then go back. And that's an authentic conversation. And now we can only take that to bigger heights and levels as sort of, as I was saying before, is that we've set the groundwork, and so now it's just about how big can we go. And again, just to what I was saying to Michael's team, bringing all these characters is, bringing all the heroes together, that's an age-old story within Marvel, obviously, but what are we bringing together for it? It seems like some people knew what we were talking about, but it's bringing together to fight one of the biggest villains, if not the biggest villain, and a, to Scott's point, variant version of Thanos at Avengers Campus. And we're really excited for this because it just gives us the opportunity to tell a whole new story with him and bring him into the campus. I'll get in trouble if I keep talking because all the things that my boss is like, here's what we want, get them to do this. I'll just promise it, and then Scott's team will have to go around, so I'll stop talking. But no, we're really excited about this because I think it does allow us to tell a variant version story of Thanos that will be there for a long time and offers a lot of opportunity because of the multiverse.
Let's see how clever I can be without getting in trouble too. So what's exciting about Thanos. This is the biggest villain to ever hit the screen, right? And such an epic character, and to be able to not just say we're bringing back Thanos, but we're bringing a variant, so we're expanding the universe again. And this is one of the 14 million that won, right? So he comes back and he has a whole different reality. And what's fun is we're creating an attraction around this, you know, similar to the conversation that we had with Wyatt about a very large villain. Well, this is a very powerful villain, and we're going to need everybody. All the training that we've been doing on campus, all of us as new recruits, we're going to join this battle, and it's going to be an all-new attraction. More details to come.
Don't get in trouble.
But yeah, no, this is an all-new ride coming to Avengers Campus, and we're very excited to continue to roll out details over the next couple of years.
I think you see what, I mean, for me, what was so exciting when we started this conversation was I got to go to Ryan and say, hey, just all of it. And there was a lot of stuff that we actually take out because it literally didn't fit, but what was fun was when we started showing this around the studio was, you know, Spider-Man freshman year being in there. Man-Thing is in there. Werewolf by Night was in this before Werewolf by Night was on Disney Plus, before we announced at D23. You know, and I think this is just a very small taste of the promise of what that story can be, and the idea that it's a King Thanos that won, and you're going to need a lot more and different adventures to take it down. And then we're right alongside that. It's just so exciting for us.
I'd love to say more, but I got to get back to work and finish this.
But before I let all of you go, it sure sounds like the sky's the limit with all of this stuff. And when you think about it, Avengers stories have only really been in the Disney parks for the last few years. Where are you excited for everything to go next?
I mean, I think we could probably all give some color to this question, but what not only the multiverse obviously is a great story thread for us to pull on, but really it comes down to that heart, that emotion. When we watch these films, we identify with those characters because we see ourselves, we see their flaws, we see they're relatable and extraordinary. And I think all of us ask ourselves, like, what would I do in that situation? And we continue to ask that question in every brainstorm for new development, new ideas. How do we want to put guests right in the middle of that question, and how should we answer it? So it continues.
Yeah, I think what's so great is it's so fun. Like, you know, it's work to kind of bring these things to life, but we get to really just dream fun things. And we want our guests to have so much fun in our parks. And to me, I just want to see more of that cool stuff, right? We've all had a rough couple of years, the past few years. So let's just have a good time and really just play with our heroes and watch our heroes do cool things.
Yeah.
That's why King Thanos is coming. Fun.
Exactly.
All of the fun is coming.
I mean, you never know, he's a variant. He's got a different perspective.
Like the baking, like the Great British Baking Show.
Just hang out with us for a while, and, you know, chill.
And do you have it? I mean, you all want to do this. Do you have any pro tips for high schoolers on web slingers?
Yeah.
Yes, pull things. Grab them and pull. Grab and pull. More points.
Yes, by the bus.
Goal, yeah, go for the goal.
Push-ups.
And work out as much as you can. It's a really good workout. It's a heck of a workout. Right.
Really?
A lot
We
of
like
hidden,
clothing.
a lot of hidden spider bots behind. You gotta move things out of the way to reveal spider bots.
And then one more pro tip. Anybody, so for us to know how to get like September when we're writing during
That is my favorite one. You have 6 different songs, so 1 in 6 chance to get September. They rotate through, so.
But it doesn't, if you ride 6 times in a row, you are not guaranteed to get it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, all the trains have all the different songs, so you get online and get it. So that was half the fun of this, figuring out the song. We tested over 100 songs on the attraction. I've now written over 564 times. Testing. Yeah, we had a counter. It was a competition among some of us.
I mean, that attraction has more show than some lands just within that showbox. So the amount of time that the team spent in that to dial it in was incredible.
You don't want to fast pass that, right? That is not one you want to fast pass.
I mean, I've been on it 12 times, and I thought that was a lot, so I guess I'm fine. All right, and with that, we've got to let all of these guys get back to work and start creating way more exciting things for us here at the Disney parks. So I want to thank you all for coming, but I do